yesterday didn't really go as forecast because of a lot of cap that was in place, as well as some dry air just above the surface because of elevated wildfire smoke. All that smoke allowed for quite a bit of dry air to be just aloft, choking off the updrafts for storms. So if storms developed, they would quickly weaken, or if they didn't, and didn't really develop at all, I guess, along this gradient. But now we finally have development happening along this gradient of storm fuel through eastern Wisconsin and soon into Michigan. Any Boeing futures over the next 4 to 5, 6 hours may produce intense wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour or slightly greater. But there's currently some severe weather through eastern Wisconsin, but this will quickly move out over the next few hours. As soon as you see this video, it will already look different. But we're finally seeing this happening, and then a cold front continues to sweep southeast, now entering southeast Minnesota, northwest Iowa, and into northwest Wisconsin. This cold front is pretty weak, but it will continue to move southeast and bring some relief from the dangerous heat over the next week or two. Well, over the next day or two, I guess. And taking a look at August, it seems that August we will have periods of cooler temperatures, but August will probably round up just above average for temperatures again for much of the Midwest. This is a look at one ensemble with temperatures for August time frame. The plains will likely be warmest because of a stubborn ridge into the western portions of the country. We are in a very stubborn upper air pattern this summer, and it will continue into the last month of summer as well. The Great Lakes region may be a little bit cooler than what this model shows, but it appears that we have periods of cooler temperatures, but also quite a bit of periods of above average temperatures as well, with maybe another heat wave or two into the August time frame. Taking a look at a different model for August as well, above average temperatures to all the Corn Belt region. Not very. It's September, August. Above average temperatures into much of the country, but this model does have a pretty warm bias overall. So I wouldn't really put this model to heart. But again, above average. Now this model can have a pretty cold bias, but it does have below average temperatures for much of the Midwest throughout the month of August. This is too cold in my opinion. It does have a cold bias I've seen this year, but it has its ups too as well. Now taking a look at the another model for August time frame. As we move into August, we see these bouts of below average temperatures through the region and into the northeast through August time frame. But as we move into the middle of August, we see a big uptick in above average temperatures throughout the Midwest. In the middle of August, so early August, we'll have periods of cooler temperatures compared to average. But don't be surprised if the second and middle of August is below average, above average for temperatures, with probably another heat wave or two through the middle and end of August. Hopefully that goes away as we move into September. But again, it looks like early on we will have rounds of below cold fronts is what it will be. That will bring them below average temperatures through the Midwest, but more focused over the Great Lakes region. But the plains will probably stay warmer than average for much of August, as it seems like it. Now, for how wet it will be, it seems that August will be pretty dry compared to normal, just like the last 2 months of this summer time frame. But that is a pretty normal thing. Now, this model has that. Then this model also has below average temperatures. Well, this is for a 3 month time frame. Below average temperatures for much of the Midwest as well through August. But so again, a pretty dry August ahead. It seems that will increase the drought. This model, again, that has a cold bias now has a wet bias as well. It has above average precipitation for much of the country, which definitely won't happen. So it seems we will have a pretty average to slightly above average August temperatures with a pretty dry August overall as well. And taking a look at a more close range, the first week of August appears it will be pretty dry as well. But there may be some severe weather chances this Thursday before August. It's before August. This Thursday, but there'll be some weather next month as well. But typically, when you have these complexes of thunderstorms, derechos, or whatever you want to say, they tend to not bring above average precipitation because they move so fast to begin with. So it only rains for 10-20 minutes, driven by strong winds to begin with. But yeah, overall a pretty dry August it seems throughout the entire month. Periods of again severe weather, maybe a couple of rain events, but I think drought will continue to worsen for much of the Midwest through August as well. The cold front will continue to move southeast slowly throughout the day, so south of the cold front will be very hot and humid again, with dew points close to 80, and the temperatures will be well into the 90s for much of Iowa into southern Wisconsin area, depending on how the convection evolves throughout the day. But heat index will be very high, up to about 115 degrees ahead of the cold front, where dew points are highest and temperatures are highest. So heat index of 105 to 115 widespread south of the cold front today for Iowa, Wisconsin, and to Illinois. Temperatures today will be into the mid 90s to close to 100-degree temperatures ahead of the weak cold front as well. Again, it's a pretty weak cold front. This ain't going to drop temperatures just 50 degrees throughout the region tomorrow or so. But actual temperatures well into the 90s, and then very high dew points because of corn sweat. This model tends to have a pretty over mixing bias to dry, but it appears that dew points will be around 80 degrees. Even this model has upper 70s, so upper 70s to low 80 dew points today as the corn will sweat again, and that is what allow heat index to be well into the hundreds where it is not raining or where there's not thunderstorms, obviously, which is rain too, but thunderstorms tend to wash out in the environment as well. Again, yesterday there was always a capping inversion that was a bust potential I've talked about over the last several days, but the wildfire smoke, the elevated wildfire smoke affected the weather more than I expected myself as well. But there was a very stout cap in place, and then the shortwave trough did not push in until late last night. And now, as these storms develop, these storms are developing over a edge of a stronger jet streak that is overhead now, and that has also allowed for more forcing and for thunderstorms to develop and take out that cap. So even though the sun set last night, we didn't have any forcing or lift or anything to develop these storms still. So even then, the cap just sat in place before we were able to get more dynamics in place. So everything was there. We had very high storm fuel, very high dew points, very high temperatures, very high wind shear. There was a lot of wind shear components that were very high, including the bulk shear, directional shear. So everything was coming together for long-lived complexes of thunderstorms yesterday afternoon into the overnight hours. But the two main ingredients that we didn't need, I guess, affected the weather so much, and that's what happens in severe weather. For winter weather, for snow, dry air is the devil for winter weather, because if you have a lot of dry air just above the surface as well, you don't really get snow to reach the ground. The snowflakes will dry up before they reach the ground, about a kilometer up or so in the atmosphere. That's usually where that happens. But then you need the atmosphere to saturate to get the snowflakes to reach the surface as well. So same with severe weather, when you have dry air, it chokes off the updrafts, and when that happens, you can't get the updrafts to grow further for the storms to strengthen and produce more intense severe weather. So again, a couple things that I can learn from yesterday. We have a lot later arrival, but again, I've always said models always struggle to show complexes of thunderstorms, how they evolve, the timing, and all that stuff, and they have continued over the last couple years struggled to show these things. Yesterday morning in the video, I showed a couple models that had a complex as early as sunset for much of Wisconsin yesterday evening, and obviously that did not happen. There wasn't much at all yesterday in Minnesota or Wisconsin. There was one storm in Waterloo that produced damaging wind gusts because the cap broke locally a little bit, and then it ran into a more stable atmosphere as it pushed further southeast. So storms were trying to get going, just kind of get past that capping inversion or the dry air. And that's what happens when you forecast severe weather. Just like winter weather, things can bust, but no excuse here. But model guidance has been so terrible this year on showing the evolution of the convection of storms overall. The exact placement has changed so much over the last few days, but the potential was always there, and it is there now, because now we are seeing the damaging winds unfold Not as widespread as what would have happened yesterday, but at least there is severe weather still going to happen. It's just a much later timing because of a few ingredients that I've talked about deeply.